the athletic trainer from Tennessee come down, and comes down to the scores table, and she goes, she's kind of going like this. I'm like, going, hey, can I help you? You're looking for somebody. She goes, I'm trying to find the public address announcer. And I said, oh, yeah, that's me. I said, what did I do?
Today on the Sideline, I'm talking with the Memphis Tigers football and men's basketball public address announcer. Geoff Mack is up next. Welcome back to the Fifth Quarter Podcast. I'm your host, Sandy Adams, and this is where we dive deep into the world of sports, talking with retired athletes, current athletes, and everyone that makes the sports world great. A quick reminder, if you have not already, be sure to subscribe to the show. You can find us on Apple, Spotify, Audible, YouTube, and wherever you listen to podcasts. And hey, if you love what you hear or watch, take a screenshot of your favorite episode and share it on Instagram stories. Be sure to tag us at 5THQRT Podcast so more folks can discover these stories. To learn more, visit our website at 5thquarterpodcast.com. Now, grab your iced tea or your coffee. Get ready to be motivated and inspired because this is where the real stories are told. Today on the Sideline, we're stepping behind the mic with a voice every Memphis Tiger fan knows and loves. He's the energy in the stadium, the hype man with the golden pipes. Geoff Mack is a longtime public address announcer for the University of Memphis, Tigers football and men's basketball teams. From the Liberty Bowl to FedEx Forum, his voice has become a soundtrack to some of Tiger's biggest moments. But beyond the mic, Geoff has a story of consistency, passion, and staying ready for the call. We're talking about how he got started, what it takes to deliver under pressure, and what it means to be the voice of a city's team. I couldn't be more excited to welcome to the show, Geoff Mack. Geoff, welcome.
Thank you so much. What an introduction. Thank you for even considering me to be on this. Thank you.
Well, I always like to tell people how we've met, and we've actually not actually met in person, I
Not
don't
physical.
think.
Yeah,
No.
correct.
But I've listened to you for the past, gosh, I've been back in Memphis for 5 years. I've listened to you for the past 5 years. I am amazed every time at how you just find the rhythm for everybody's name. I'm excited to have you on the show. I think it's interesting what you do and how you got started and all that kind of stuff. So we're going to dive into that. So let's talk about where you grew up. Where are you from?
Sure. I'm from Laramie, Wyoming, born and raised, and lived there for about 30 years. So uh, it's it's weird to be here still, because for the longest time I was like, "Oh gosh, I'm probably gonna, sit back and retire someday in Wyoming, and just gonna live there, not even move and all that." But that's the beauty of life. Life will throw you so many curveballs, and you'll never know where you're gonna be the next day. And but yeah, Laramie was just. It's home. It still will be home, but Memphis where it's at, and I love it out here.
I will say I took a road trip, like, gosh, 15 years ago. And
Hmm.
one of the stops was through the entire state of Wyoming. And I just fell in love with the whole state. I've been to Laramie and it's everything. It's just, I call it God's country. It really is. It's just incredibly beautiful. So I did have, I saw that you were from Wyoming and I was kind of excited about that and finding out about your story. Did you grow up playing sports?
I did quite a bit too. From regular sports like baseball and soccer. I was actually heavy in gymnastics too until
Really?
about junior high. Yeah, and I think what happened so many of these sports growing up, it allowed for me to be better on different sports. So like
Sure.
baseball, I could, if I was playing first base, I could stretch out and get that guy at first. And soccer, that's all you're doing is running.
Right, right.
So yeah, and gymnastics was a great. It wasn't bodybuilding, but again, you're stretching, you're doing all
Hmm.
this stuff, and so all these sports, including golf later down in life, it was just I like to be active, and I loved sports so much that sooner or later you just realize you're like going, okay, well, I'm never going to be professional, but you are passionate about it. So and I think we'll talk about how public address announcing has come uh towards where I'm at now, how much being involved in sports and doing the actual sports, um unfortunately, I wasn't really good at basketball. I loved shooting the ball, but
Right.
dribbling, yeah, I was okay. And, doing the other things. I tried that in junior high and uh, played on this, kind of a pickup league. And I was more involved in who had possessions and
Right.
how many fouls was on this person, and they would throw me the ball and say, all right, Jeff, run this play. I'm like, oh yeah, I guess I got to play some basketball here and all that stuff. But it was funny to have the officials actually come up to me and going, that's a jump ball, who's got the ball? And I said, oh, the red team is. And they said, how did you know that? I said, that, don't you know that you're the rule
Right.
guy? So, but yeah, sports is it's been very important in my life, and I think that's where it all started, is, when I started playing sports back when I was a kid.
So what was growing up in Laramie like? Like what was like what were some of the other than sports, what were the things that you had to do?
What you think about it is that, being God's country, you want to
Mhm.
be outside, but I wasn't really an outdoorsy type of guy. But people loved hiking, they loved skiing,
Yeah.
they loved hunting, they loved all these things out there. My outdoor time was basically out on the soccer field, playing
Right.
soccer, playing baseball on a baseball field. So, um, again, sports was just one of those things that just revolved around what I did on a day-to-day basis. But don't get me wrong, I mean, living in Laramie was just you just don't even realize how much is out there
Yeah.
until you move, but how much is the serene beauty of Wyoming in a whole. And as you go, to the Tetons and see how
Yes.
big those mountains are. You can go to Yellowstone, to one of the greatest national parks ever. Go to Old Faithful. There's so many things in Wyoming, even though it's so desolate. There's more antelope than people in
There
Wyoming.
is.
So you're like, you see an antelope, you're like going, oh, nice to meet you. But it it was it was really cool, and especially being moved away from Wyoming. You soon realize, how you miss the blue
Yeah.
skies. How
Yeah.
do I miss the wind? No, no, God,
Yeah.
no. Do I miss the 20 below wind chills? And,
No.
and no, absolutely not. And there's sometimes here in Memphis that you're kind of reminded of that, and you're
Yeah.
going, yeah, do I really need to go back now? But growing up there was great. And Laramie is such a small town. I think it's like 31,000 right now, and
Oh
being
yeah.
the only 4-year college there, a 4-year university there too. It was really cool to have them there, the University of Wyoming. We don't
Mhm.
have professional sports. We don't have
Really?
anything. No, no.
Well,
I mean, they,
you mean okay, in general
yeah,
in the fifth city.
yeah. Like, you have the Denver Nuggets down in
Right.
Colorado, but that's a 2.5-hour drive, even though that you would probably fixate yourself to it
Right.
being a professional sport. Same thing with the Broncos, the Avalanche, the Rockies. It keeps going on and on. That's your professional side. Laramie had a 4-year university. That's
Mhm.
what we really revolved upon, growing up, being our professional,
Right.
sports to be revolved around. And so, when I was growing up, we used to have University of Wyoming Cowboy baseball there. They do these little camps during the seasons, right before they started the season, and I remember being involved with that, and it was really cool. And like, looking up to the player and like, oh, I want to be a baseball player just like you when I grow up. So it's yeah, it was really cool to grow up there and just be involved with anything
Right.
that was around
Right.
Laramie.
In in some aspects, Laramie is kind of like Memphis.
Hmm.
Because I mean, before the Grizzlies came, the University of Memphis was really the only sport here.
Correct.
So, in some ways, it's kind of comparable to that. But obviously, you came after the Grizzlies were here.
Right. Yeah, yeah. I think it's very comparable. And you think about it too. Well, we'll think about our friends down in Oxford.
Mm-mm.
Um, they don't have a professional sport, but
No,
again, even Oxford's even a smaller population than
right?
Laramie, which I found out. And so, uh, again, I think there's a lot of kids when they're growing up, that's what they do. They
Yeah,
they will. attach themselves to who they know best. And I think it's not just an age thing too, because they're closer to age with college and university students. But the professional side, you see them on TV, you
Right.
go to the big arena and see them all that. But yeah, Memphis, I think a lot of people when they grew up were in the same boat as me, and they'll remember the Elliot Perrys, the Penny Hardaways, and yes, yeah, you're raising your hand because exactly, it's the same feeling that you're
Right.
feeling, and you attach yourself because that is your professional team.
Right. I mean, when I came to Memphis in 1986 to start college, and that was when Larry Finch started as head
Hmm.
coach. And, for 10 years, this, I was able to witness a city that just basically came together around Tiger basketball. Like
Hmm.
that was it. So, it's just something that I remember, and I miss those days. We have parts of them now, but I miss those days when the whole city, that's it, just was, obsessive. Everybody was obsessed about what the Tigers were doing and all that kind of stuff. So, where did your love of announcing come into play?
Well, the love and announcing actually is all because of my older brother George. He was he loved just doing things. And
Mm-hmm.
so because I was in gymnastics, he was in gymnastics, I was in gymnastics. He was doing soccer, I was doing soccer, so on and so forth. And so we're 6 years apart. So when he was in high school, I think it was his senior year where he decided to go to the athletic director and say, "Hey, I want to do the announcing. Can I do that for the basketball team?" And of course they didn't hesitate. They said, "Yes, you can do it." And I didn't even question it. I was like, "Oh no, that's kind of cool. That's kind of cool that you did it." Well, come to my sophomore year in high school, I loved just following what my brother did.
Sure,
And so,
sure.
I mean, he was my hero, and I was like going, "Oh, okay, I want to do this public address announcing like you did." And so I went to the athletic director at the time. I said, "Do you mind if I go ahead and announce?" And he said, "Oh no, I think that'll be a great thing for you to do." So they throw me the microphone, and I'm about ready to announce, and out comes nothing. Mic is on, nothing comes out. And whoever was doing the scorebook right next to me and says, "Jeff, you're on," and he kind of nudges me a little bit, and you hear, "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome." And it was a funny moment that I soon realized that it takes guts to
Mhm.
do that. Even though I think Laramie High School gymnasium probably maybe like 100
Right,
200 seat capacity gymnasium, but in the mind of a 16-year-old, I mean, you're thinking that there are a million people there. Nerves are something that you just get over with. And it's funny. It's just like going, gosh, I'm nervous to do this interview with Sandy Adams. I don't know what I'm going to do. It's I think that the human emotion when it comes down to it is that you come to that crossroads saying, do I take this path and just be
sure.
nervous all the time, or be confident, go ahead, talk, tell people what you're really feeling, tell just like how we're doing this interview. It's just
Right,
that's all we're doing is talking. So when it came down to it, a lot of times, of course, when I'm doing the public address announcing, I'm just reading off a script. But when
sure.
it comes game time, of course, then I become a true public address announcer. I'm announcing what's going on, how many fouls are there,
Right,
and of course, with the marketing, you're reading script with all the advertisers that are being sold by whomever, the high school, the university,
sure.
so on and so forth. So, um, yeah, it was great to follow his footsteps. And in Georgetown, he didn't consider it as a career. Yeah, I think he just did it in high school, and that was it.
Right.
But after that, the state high school basketball championships were there in Laramie, and they utilized the University of Wyoming's arena auditorium, their multi-purpose gym, and I think they used our high school as venues for the 3A, 4A state championships. And I got a phone call from the university and saying, "Jeff, I think it would be an honor for you to do some announcing." And I said, I would love it. I think I did 12 games. We
Oh.
have actually one of the other venues was our old field house where they did like indoor football
Hmm.
practicing, but that it was actually where the Cowboys used to play basketball, and so it was fun to announce there. Then I think I did the state title game for 3A, and I did it in the Arena Auditorium, which is the biggest, uh, uh, I guess, venue
Right.
in the state with 15,000 seats. So it was a great introduction into going into the University of Wyoming, which they did offer me uh, women's soccer,
Right.
women's volleyball, and women's uh, basketball. Sorry, I just had to think about all three of
That's
them. But
okay. But no men,
yeah, I
they didn't offer you any men's teams.
didn't offer men's because they already had men's
Oh, okay.
announcers,
Right.
and
Right.
so and that later down the road it started turning. So and I started doing other sports as well.
Okay, so I have a question. I actually have
Mhm.
several questions. Okay. So, did you ever practice those, like the first times? Did you ever like practice how you were going to say things or anything like that?
No, absolutely. That is something that's funny is that I think there's been a couple people that have asked that and said, "Do you actually practice names?" And I'm like, "No,
It just
I
comes
don't."
out.
It just comes out. I think the only times that I've ever practiced, and I'm being very serious, and I think this one you'll probably understand. When we had Ko Dorichi Akubundu Ehiogu, I think I
Yes.
have to practice that one down a little
Yeah.
bit. So thank you, Penny, for getting him here so I can pronounce his name. And the funny side of the story is that Grayson, my 11-year-old boy, when he didn't have aspirations on become a public address announcer, but I had my scripts down and I had the pronunciation guide
Right.
for KO's name, and he said it
Oh
without
my
any
gosh.
problem whatsoever. I was like, "How'd you do that?" And he goes, "Oh, I just read your pronunciation guide." I was like,
Yeah. It's
"So
just
do that again." And he said it again. I'm like, "Oh, wow, that's pretty good." And Grayson had the chance to go say it to him, and KO went, "I don't think anybody said it that perfect ever." And I was
oh
like,
my god.
"Grayson," I give him a high five. I was like, "Good job for you." So KO and you'll laugh at this one. Penny Hardaway. I had to prepare myself for the first time ever that Penny was going to be announced at Memphis Madness, first year
Right.
as a head coach.
Right.
You'll love this story. And I hate this story because it's embarrassing, but
No.
I
We're
love
all
telling it.
we're all friends. We're all
We're all
friends.
friends, yes, even the people that are watching. So to prepare it, I think it was Mark Giannotto or Jason Munz,
Right.
the reporters for the basketball team. They said, "Are you ready to announce his name?" I said, "Yeah, I think I'll probably have to, sit down, kind of prepare myself for it because
Right.
it's a big moment." And
Right.
we sold out FedEx Forum, and it was going to be a special moment. And when the moment happened, we had a video, and the video was playing, and you could hear just people starting cheering, getting
Yeah.
louder, and all that stuff. I was like, going, "Oh boy, I think I have to be a little bit louder than what I was preparing," which is very simple. It's just Penny
Right.
Hardaway,
Right.
very simple. Well, when the video ended, the crowd was pretty much at a fever pitch because I couldn't even hear myself. I was talking into it and saying, "And now, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome." I couldn't even hear myself here doing that. I was like,
Oh my
mentally,
gosh.
I'm like, I have to be louder
Yeah.
than the mic and everybody here because this is a big, huge moment. So I get to the point of to his name as ladies and gentlemen, and now your head coach for your University of Memphis Tigers. Please welcome the Penny was perfect. Penny. When I got to Hardaway, I started noticing something right here just
Oh.
starting to crack. So I went through my second puberty in the Hardaway, and it was something like Penny Hardaway. No one heard it at the
No,
time.
yeah,
People
nobody
were
did.
happening, and everything was great until the university did a recap video, and Gary, who was our video coordinator at the time, he used my audio during the video, and you could hear it. You could hear it clear as day.
Oh,
And I went, I'm gonna live with that all my
yeah.
years that I'm here on Earth. But I'm so glad that I was part of that because it was genuine. It was so
Mhm.
in the moment. And you know, did coach deserve better? Of course, because that's why if there's something I prepare each and every game
Right,
is to make sure I
right,
nail Penny
right.
Hardaway's name. But when we recap that, and you can probably find it, please go find it and start laughing about it. But yeah, Penny Hardaway is actually one of those names I actually prepare myself for.
So now I believe you put in Anthony in between Penny and Hardaway, correct?
Because that is his name. Yes.
Yes.
Very rarely will just say Penny Hardaway
Okay.
because to me it's Anthony Penny Hardaway because Penny is
Exactly.
his nickname. So Anthony Hardaway. It just sounds weird just to say it,
Yeah.
but
Oh,
as a formal introduction.
and I just made a mistake there. I corrected. Yeah, I said Penny Anthony Hardaway. It's Anthony Penny Hardaway.
Yeah, it's all right. Yeah, he's our coach. Coach Hardaway. There you
That's
go.
right. That's right. That's right. Do you ever like warm up your vocal cords? Do you do like any hot tea? Like, do you do any of that? Because you have to talk for what, 2 hours? Or
Two-
if we're playing that one game that went on for like 3 hours, like with all the fouls and everything, the longest. I
uh,
think you said the longest regulation game you had ever participated in was like
Something like that.
2 or 3 years
Yeah.
ago.
Um For that game, well, there was a women's game that went to five overtimes. I remember that. My voice was fine after that, just because, I mean, even though you're very excited,
Right.
you're,
Right.
using a lot of your vocal cords. I remember the end of the game. I think I was more tired. Excuse me, I'm more tired
Sure.
than my vocal cords being that way. But being at FedEx Forum, and when you have a lot of crowds. They're there for the Houston game. They're there for the Ole Miss game. They're there for the
Right.
Tennessee game. Do I prepare my vocal cords? No, I probably do need to, but there's a lot of times where I'll listen to like the radio. I'll sing
Sure.
along and maybe warm up the vocal cords that way. But I don't. I'm not driving around going, and now, ladies and gentlemen. A lot of it is just I get there, I go through script, I just read, and when it's game on, it's game on. And going back to, like, do I prepare any of these names? I don't. I'll probably read it and say, okay. I don't even say it in my head. It's just, it comes out.
Sure.
So like Keo Dorichi Akabundu Egugu, I was like going, how do you do that? And I said, well, I'm just going to have to announce it. And
Yeah.
so, and of course, it was just funny just to announce KO as just the whole name of his
Right.
name. But then I don't like to shorten anybody else. It's just like Anthony Penny Hardaway. You have
Right.
to say the whole name itself. So, but yeah, no preparedness. No, if there's anybody that's doing any type of announcing or anything else, yes, hot tea and honey. Got to put the honey in there. Then once you drink that tea, take that honey again and just douse the
Right.
honey as it lubricates the throat. So, but yeah, no, I go in, I'm just ready. Put me in.
Has there ever, well, besides that, has there been a game where you just felt like you did the worst performance ever?
Yeah. There's been a couple of them. I think not of recent, but when they brought me on board in 2013 to take over for the Tigers men's basketball team, uh, I had a way of doing the starting lineup, but I wouldn't put him in like a numerical fashion. I would just, notate who's going next and and
Right.
and be done with it. Well, I think it was like my second or third game. It could have been the first game. I don't recall, but I do recall skipping over DJ Steffen's name, and it was something that I didn't catch, and
Right.
I just announced all the names and kind of put my seat to where I need to go and get ready for the game. And then they said, "You didn't announce Stefan's names." I'm like, I did what? It really it put me off for a second because I was like going, okay. And then I announced it when the teams was taking the court and everything
Right.
else. But I remember some certain people that were out there going, yeah, you didn't do such a great job. You didn't announce his name and everything else. I said, yeah, I'm sorry, and then just human error, whatever. But
Yes.
that's the beauty of it is that yeah, you learn from your mistakes. And now I actually do a numeric. I put a one by this name and a two by this name, and so if we go in order,
Right.
uh, by whatever order that we decide to. Does PJ Haggerty go first? Does
Right.
um Tyrese Hunter go fourth, whatever it is. And so, yeah, I mean, the mistakes are going to happen, and I know that
Sure
they're
they
going to
are.
happen. Like,
Yeah.
the voice crack, man, and
Yeah.
it's nothing that you can do about it. But then again, that what makes us stronger, what makes us better, is to learn from those
Yes.
mistakes and just make it better next time.
Exactly. I mean, you have to start somewhere, and we're all human, and things are going to
Mhm.
happen, and it's just how you go forward and make the best of it and learn from that. So I want to know. Okay, first, what did you go to college for?
I went to the University of Wyoming for communications.
Okay.
I wanted to see whether or not I was good for radio and TV. And it was a pretty broad scale that freshman year, going to the University of Wyoming and doing so. I did okay, but then I
Mhm.
soon realized two things. I wasn't ready for radio or TV. And two, I don't think I was ready for college or university time. I actually, after my first year at the University of Wyoming, I left just because I was like going, gosh, I'm not ready for school. I did all this
Right.
junior high, high school. I graduated. I was done, and everybody was doing college or
Yeah.
going to a university. And soon realized it's like, oh, this is a waste of money. And I actually went into radio at a AM station, and this correlated into the last year of the University of Wyoming's cowboy baseball, and they needed somebody to do the color commentary
Hmm.
during that season. So I got a phone call from my buddy Jake at the time, and he said, "I think you'll be a great color announcer for that." And I said, "Okay." I'll give it a shot. I
Sure.
never done it, and so that was my introduction into radio and doing color commentating for baseball. Then turn into doing oldies at that same station. Then I ended up being in an FM station doing radio, and which is funny is that I have a PA voice, but I had a knack of changing my voice into um all hits all the time, mix 105.5 FM. And it was funny that I could
That's so
change
cool.
it. I know I don't know. It's just one of those weird knacks that I had. And uh I think taking that year off of college and university, and I even went back to a junior college in Laramie. um I gained more experience,
Yeah.
hands-on
Yeah.
with, being in radio, doing the public address announcing at the university. Um, Shoot, I had probably like 5 different jobs when I got out of high school, just because I learned 2 things: I needed money,
Yeah.
and 2, I needed experience. So, might as well go into a job that you can, low level job,
Hmm.
but still learn things within said job. And be in the restaurant business, you be a host, you're greeting people, and so you're
Sure.
being personable, just like how we are being personal right now. And that has a little bit to do with public address announcing, is that you want to be personal to the crowd, and
Right.
the crowd is there to, and not just to listen to you, but you're supposed to be informative as well. And as long as you're clear, precise, and uh, very understanding as you're enunciating every single thing that comes
Yeah.
out of your mouth, a lot to do with what my upbringing after college, after that 1 year of college, has amounted to where I am today. And would I change anything? No, I wouldn't,
Yeah.
because again, I would be missing some type of aspect in those
Exactly.
years.
Exactly. So, okay, question is, How did you get to Memphis?
It's always a woman. It's always a woman.
I think that's a country song
It
somewhere.
is a country song somewhere. If not, we're Sandy and I will start formulating a song. My wife Jennifer, she grew up here actually here in Memphis. She graduated from the University of Memphis in the chemistry department,
Oh.
and one of her professors was he graduated from the University of Wyoming and said, "Hey, you need to get a PhD. Go to the University of Wyoming. That's where I got mine." And so she didn't know Wyoming. She didn't know. I think she just knew it was a rectangular state, and that's about
Right.
it. But she ended up there. And but at the time, I actually took a year sabbatical from the University of Wyoming, and I worked at a Ashley Furniture Home Store. The only other Ashley Furniture Home Store that she needed to get all of her things for her apartment were in Cordova, Tennessee. So she went there, found all the furniture, and said, "Okay, I got to call Laramie, Wyoming." They're Ashley Furniture Home Store. Guess who answered the phone?
I
I
love
answered the
this.
phone, and that's how we met. So she went there, I think, from 2006 through 8. She only got her master's, and yeah, there's only so much cold and snow that a
Yes,
Southern girl can handle.
I will
So
agree with that.
she got her master's and said, "If you want to continue this little relationship that we have, you better find your way down here." So
Did she do the head thing like you just did?
no, but I think I just do it for the dramatic effect. I
And
just
it's a good dramatic effect.
Yeah, no, she definitely didn't do the head thing, but it felt like it to me. But yeah, I think I took one more year at the University of Wyoming. I actually went back to the University of Wyoming just to get one more year of announcing and to help out their marketing team. But that's when I had to do like this year long say goodbye to Wyoming because I'm
Right.
Memphis bound and I probably won't come back. So but yeah, Jennifer was the one, and actually her family was said, "Well, you're going to Wyoming, you might as well bring home a cowboy." So she did. She brought home a Wyoming cowboy.
Okay, so what was that first year in Memphis? Like, what year did you move here?
'09.
Okay, oh
So
nine.
June of '09. Actually, I started working at a AT&T mobility store in Cordova, and
Okay.
had no connection with the University of Memphis at the time. This is also where University of Memphis actually had a job hiring freeze. So I was trying to
Mm.
transfer from the University of Wyoming to the University of
Oh yeah,
Memphis,
yeah.
and because of that freeze, there was no way that I could go from marketing team to marketing team
Right.
or to announce, which was fine because it just got me here, and I knew I had a new life to live. I have a family
Right.
and a future, in-laws, and it was something that I was totally in grips of, and so I just sitting there going, "Gosh, first year without announcing anything, and I guess my career is over for right now." Well, sure enough, I get a phone call probably about a couple of months down the road, and it is Carrie Yurdy, who used to be the volleyball coach at the University of Memphis. She moved to the University of Wyoming to become
Okay,
the
that's pretty
volleyball coach.
funny.
She had, or she was getting a phone call from the university here in Memphis saying, "We need to get in touch with Geoff Mack. We need a announcer for women's basketball." My phone number was on record at the University of Wyoming. Everybody had it. Well,
Right.
of course, where do I work? AT&T. I got rid of that Wyoming phone. That phone number was non-existent. And so one way or another, they found me.
Okay, so
And
how did they know about you though?
uh, I had Brandon Hayes was the marketing guy at the university uh, the year before I came here. So that would have been '08.
Right.
And I think I met him,
Ah, okay.
gosh, I want to say a year before that. So he was in marketing, I was in marketing.
Right, right.
And my wife was from Memphis. He was working for the University of Memphis,
Right.
so it was just more of, "Hey, Brandon, my name is Jeff."
That makes
Oh,
sense. That makes sense.
yeah, and that the year before is when Calipari. It was a home game. We were playing Georgetown, and we were there for I think Christmas actually. And I got in touch with Brandon and said, "Hey, Brandon, I'd love to watch a game. I'm not asking for free tickets. I just is there any way I can get tickets?" He goes,
Right.
"I got you. I got you set. I got you two tickets. Just come on down." And so I'm more I I do a lot of analysis at games. I don't really sit there and going, "Yay, go team!" I'm like going, "Oh, so they announced that. Oh, they use that song. Oh, that's cool.
Oh,
That I
yeah,
like
I
that
see.
video board." So
Yeah.
I'm watching the game too, but I'm like taking notes on how they do it so I can
Right.
bring it back to University of Wyoming. But sat in the nosebleeds. I could touch that wall in
Oh,
the back of
yes. Yes.
FedEx and all that stuff. It was scary to me, but yeah, that was my introduction to the university, and so that's where I was trying to get to, was to through, and not through just Brandon, but through other channels,
Mm.
and see if there was that opportunity. It wasn't, but yeah, it wasn't until Carrie called me from Wyoming and said, "Yeah, they're trying to get in touch with you. Is this your phone number?" I said, "Yeah, this is my phone number." They said they need a women's basketball announcer. Are you up for it? I said, "Let me check with my wife. Hold on one second." And so I told Jennifer, I said, "Jennifer, is it okay?" She goes, "Oh, I think that's a dream come true for you, isn't it? You
Aw.
want to keep going." And so, yeah, '09, I kept on doing announcing. So I was the public address announcer for women's basketball, and did that for until 2013. Actually, even further than that, because I had to encompass um, uh, different sports at that time too. So yeah, it was really cool to just to
Right.
keep going from the University of Wyoming to doing games at the University of Memphis.
So let me ask you this. That
Hmm.
aside, what was your first year living in Memphis? Like, was there any, because obviously you had visited before,
Hmm.
but was there any like adjustment period or anything that living here kind of showed you that visiting did not or something?
It's culture shock is a key word that a lot of people use because, yeah, again, I lived in Wyoming. Coming to the Mid South, yes, I knew kind of what was there and
Right.
what Memphis was all about. And of course, I was here during Christmas time, so I didn't get really a chance to endure the nice summer heat and humidity that we had. But if there was an adjustment, was that, anyways, all the stuff that I had packed up uh, from my journey from Laramie to Memphis. It was actually, I think it was snowing when I left, and then my 2-day trek to Memphis, all I had was winter clothes. I didn't have any of my
Oh my
summertime
God.
clothes, and so I couldn't get moved into our new house another 6 more months or something like that. So we had to
Mhm.
go into storage and go find some summertime clothes because I
Yeah.
think it was 91 and with a heat index of almost
Yeah.
100 when I
Yeah.
first arrived. And I was
Yeah.
like looking around going, "Yep, I got long sleeves, I got jeans. This is not going to
Yeah.
work."
Yeah. So let's talk about this. I usually throw this in at the end, but I want to throw this in the middle. What do you
Mhm.
see as your value today?
My value today is pretty interesting, is that I didn't see much of value. You don't look into yourself and saying, "Gosh,
Mm,
I'm a public address announcer,"
sure.
or some people going, "Oh, I'm such a celebrity because I do all the announcing, all that stuff." Sometimes you have to evaluate what is truly your value, and my value was that it is a blessing that I do that
Mhm.
announcing because, again, what I bring to the university, you soon realize is that that you are the value of their voice. You
Sure.
are announcing their games, but it's also it's like right now is that they're needing help with announcing baseball games. And
Right.
so that increases your value because you're also considered for that. Even the tennis, they had the conference championships
I
there,
was
and
there.
you were there.
Yeah.
Good. It's an honor to get. those type of phone calls, text
Yeah.
messages, and under consideration, because that means you have so much value towards any company that you work for.
Hmm.
And that really, it humbles you. It soon realize that you put in all this hard work, that your value has risen, that you amount to more than you ever imagined. And
Sure.
so to build that, it's just because of my upbringing. It's my parents, supporting me, my brother being supportive of doing what I was doing, and you just want to do well, and
Sure.
you strive for it. And so I think, for my value, especially here in Memphis, yeah, I mean, I consider it pretty high, even though I don't consider it as high. I just love what I do.
And we love what you do too. So this past season, this earlier this year, two occasions, your son and your daughter separately announced the starters at the men's basketball game.
Right.
So your son, Grayson, correct?
Hmm.
He announced for take your I forgot what the occasion was.
That was
Kids Day.
kids
It was
kids
Kids Day.
day.
Yeah,
Kids day.
Kids Day. Okay, so how old was he when he did that?
He was 10.
10.
Well,
Okay.
if you rewind it, he did it last year, so he would have been 9, but this year
Oh,
it was
okay.
10. So
My mind can't go back that far. Okay. Okay, so obviously he's had a year to work on it, but
hmm.
did he prep at anything at all? Did he prep?
Yes.
He did.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I think as kids, and especially being in that position, just like what we just talked about, is that,
Hmm.
yeah, you grab the microphone for the first time, you're going to announce for the first time, and you're just scared. You're
Yeah.
very scared, and I don't want anybody to be in that position, let alone my kids, to do the
Sure.
announcing.
Sure. Sure.
So, was there preparedness? Yes. Was
Yeah.
there a talk? Yes. But very simple talk, because again, you gotta think like a child, is that you don't want to overcomplicate it. You don't want
Sure.
to, yeah, just put a lot of stuff into it. So it was very simple with both Grace and Lydia, is that, this is how it is. And actually, I replicated it. We turn off the lights in a room. I had a flashlight, and we had the script right there. I said, all you're doing is reading this. Very
Right.
simple. And so I would put Eye of the Tiger on my phone and blast it. And I let them announce it however they want to announce it. I said, don't replicate what I do. If you do, great, that's awesome.
Right. Right.
But I want you to announce it however you want. So yeah, there was a little bit of hand holding. There was a little bit of pep talking. Uh, but Grayson, for whatever reason, he's got a knack. You can put a piece of paper in front of him. He'll actually memorize it.
Right.
He loves reading. So for him, I think he listens, reads well, and he he's amazing. I mean, I'm just amazed every single day that he does things. But when he was all said and done with announcing this year, you could just tell that, it meant a lot to him, and he did well. He listened well, and he made me very, very happy, made me proud.
Well, he made all of us proud. He did a fabulous job. Were you nervous when it was going on?
No,
No.
with him, no. We'll go to Lydia. I think I was more nervous for Lydia. Just
Okay.
she's
I
7.
will say I was a little nervous too. Like I think I knew beforehand because she did it for the Girls in Sports Week.
Hmm. Correct.
Um, I think I was nervous because like everybody around me, we were like three rows from the floor. So all of us around
Hmm.
us, we were like we were like holding like our hands like as she was saying everything. But she did a fabulous job also. Like I was amazed. And how old was she when she did that?
She was
See,
6 when she did
I
that one.
couldn't even imagine doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if she was 6 or 7. I think she just turned 7. But still, I mean, 6, 7. We're still
Yeah.
talking about a
Yeah.
young child
Yes.
doing this. And so, again, Grayson didn't really have to worry about. Lydia, yes, because again, you're dealing with a younger girl doing
Sure.
this.
Sure.
But if there was anything that was, yeah, not just hopeful, it's just inspiring, is that she goes, I want to do this. And so this is
Wow.
how it happened, is that Grayson got to do his.
Yeah.
And came home and we all said, oh, good job, Grayson, you did a great job. Lydia goes, God, I want to do it someday. I'm like,
Oh.
really? Okay. So I think I went to the university. I said, hey, Grayson did a great job. Thank you so much for allowing them and all that stuff. I said, just to let you know, Lydia's ready whenever you're ready.
Got a little competition going on
Yeah,
now.
no competition. Yeah, I think Lydia just want to see if she had the golden pipes basically. But sure enough, they to celebrate that Girls in Sports
Yeah,
Day, is that they said it would be kind of cool
it
for
would.
Lydia to do it. And I was like, "Are you serious?" And they said, "Yeah." Would
Yeah.
she be up for it? I said, give me tonight. Let me talk
Yeah.
to her. And so I said, Lydia, come over here. And she came out of the shower. She had PJs on and all that stuff. I said, Lydia, I want to ask you something. And seriously, she goes, does the university want me? And she asked that. I was like, going, oh, well, hold on one second.
Okay.
Well, the university wanted me to ask you, would you like to be the public address announcer for their game? And she goes, she does a split. She goes, absolutely. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, there's your answer right there. I said, okay, I'll let them know. And so her reaction is the same thing as Grayson when I first
Yeah.
asked him. He didn't hesitate. He said, absolutely, or yes. And so it's funny that, Grayson was very adamant that he wanted to do it, and
Right.
Lydia doing splits and saying, yeah, I want to do it. So with that, that shows you that they have motivation. They really
Mhm.
want to be a part of it. And for Lydia, it was actually easier to train her.
Really?
For Grayson, it was easy. For, for Lydia, because she's heard it. She's heard brother do it.
Oh,
She's
that's
heard her
true.
dad
That's
do
true.
it.
That's true.
So younger kids usually do a little bit better than their older, or they just see what their
Well, and
older
I
one
think I
does.
think young kids also pick up things a lot easier.
They
Like
do.
foreign languages, young kids pick those up much easier than adults do, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
She did a fabulous job. She was so cute. Did you have to sit her on something?
No, but she
Okay.
she ended up being on her knees on the seat.
Yeah.
So she wanted to be a little bit higher and all that stuff. I said, you can
But
sit however you want." So
we were holding our breath. I just want you to know that. And when it was over, we were like so excited. We all felt like she was our daughter. Like it was the cutest thing. Not to take anything away from Grayson, but Lydia was just like the cutest thing. So, how did your wife, Jennifer, feel about that?
well, she thought it was the greatest thing
Yeah.
too. Yeah. I mean, it's fun to see as parents
Mm,
them succeed. And
sure.
for Grayson, he's heavily into baseball. We love him just to see him hit the ball and catch the ball and
I've been watching
run
your
the bases.
Facebook feed. I see all their games. Yes.
Oh, they he loves baseball. And the same thing for Lydia, is that, she's involved with tumbling. She's
Right.
does dance, and she's gonna follow her mom's footsteps and being a Memphis Palm member and all that
Oh,
stuff. So it's really cool.
wait a minute. Your wife was a Memphis Palm?
Hmm. Yeah, for a year and a half.
Okay. Maybe we'll have her on here.
Oh, we need to
Oh,
give her a call.
yeah. I'll let you book her. That's what we'll
There you
talk. I'll let
go.
you be
We'll
the
talk.
booking agent. But I look at both Grayson and Lydia and I think what not only what an inspiration to everybody in FedEx Forum, but also what an inspiration to other kids.
Hmm.
And the university to because it could have gone all bad. I mean, it could have.
Sure.
You get a kid out there, I don't care how prepared and you see all those people and you can freeze up, but an inspiration to other kids about things that you can do if you just put your mind to it and get in a situation. And I love to say Memphis is the biggest small town ever. Like the fact that
100%.
so many people can get to know each other through sports, especially
Hmm.
basketball and football, I think is just really amazing. um okay, so this was something we were okay. First of all, Lydia and Grayson, do you think they'll continue doing this? Obviously, if the opportunity is given to them? Do they want to kind of take on this as kind of a side hustle?
It wouldn't surprise me. At the other end too, it wouldn't surprise me that they don't.
Yeah,
It's you take we just said it, you take a kid in there and you let them do it. It is, it's monumental, it's historic, it's something that a lot of kids wouldn't even do, even though there's a lot of
mhm,
institutions and
yeah,
universities, colleges, professionals that they'll take do a kids day or do kids do the starting lineups or announce one kid
right,
or a guy to the plate or whatever. Um, for Grayson and Lydia, if they want to strive, keep this going, want to learn more, please, I'll be supportive of them as long as anything's positive. If they don't, then hey,
sure.
they had their chance in the limelight, and they got to announce the University of Memphis Tigers. It's I'm supported no matter which way that they go. Is if they want to do this, then yeah, I'm going to pour my heart out to them and say, this is how we take this further. This is how you
Right.
announce this. This is the sport. And so, yeah, I mean, it's up to them. And as Jennifer and I will always be supportive of them. If they want to continue this, great. If they don't, then like I said, we hang on to these memories and say, do you
Sure.
remember when? And just chit chat about it and have fun about it and just take from there.
Okay, so quick question for anybody out there, maybe in high school or college that want to get into public address announcing.
Mhm.
What are some tips? Give me like 3 tips for them.
Sure. Tips are basically go to a game. Go to a game and listen
Yes,
to somebody. That's how I did it. Um, so of course I had my brother listen to him, but growing up in Laramie, and again we talked about how close Denver was.
sure.
My brother and I would go to Rockies games, an occasion a Broncos game or Colorado Avalanche game. And the reason why I bring up Colorado Avalanche is that there is a very famous voice, and the name probably won't get a lot of people, but he's done the Olympics, he's done Super Bowls, he's done pretty much everything. But his name is Alan Roach. He's from Minnesota, but he worked for, I think he still works for a local radio station in Denver. But
Right.
he was the second guy at the Colorado Avalanche to do the public address announcing. He's got a beautiful voice. There's something that I wish I could just take that voice and put it right here, but I'm fine with my voice. I'll say that. But Alan's got a great delivery, and once you hear his voice, it's very familiar. So, like I said, you listen to the Olympics, you listen to the Super Bowl, in which a lot of us have. They'll say, "And now let's send it to the public address announcer, Alan Roach." um, you listen to that voice, and it's probably one of the best voices out there. And a lot of people will have opinions about other voices that they've heard
Sure.
and say that no, that's the best voice, or this guy's had the best, Alan Shepard's got the best voice, whatever. But to me, Alan's voice was just it's great. It's what a public address announcer
Right.
voice, in my opinion, should sound like. So going to a game, listening to it, and basically take it and emulate it. Go home, practice. Practice
Right.
is the big
Exactly.
thing. I told you
Exactly.
that I don't practice names, but reading script, read all the time. Just enjoy it. If
Mhm.
that's something that you want to do, enjoy it and prepare for it. The other thing too is that I've utilized these people online, but Matthew Wallace, I believe is his name. He has a .org out there for public address announcers,
Oh,
and he's got some great little tips there. So online, you got go online
right.
because again, Google's there for the greater good to do
It
your own
is.
research.
It is.
And so that's probably the other thing to do. So go to the games, listen. Um, Emulate what's
Right.
there, but don't just take it all. Just do it in a natural way, and find people online. Again, great research there. You can get some tips there on how to become a better public address
Right.
announcer. Just like how Jeff Brightwell has notes and everything else, you'll learn
Yes.
how to do notes, how to spell things phonetically.
Yes. I do that as well. If I've got people on here, it's not that their names might be complicated, but my tongue gets twisted sometimes.
Mhm.
And
Right.
then you get nervous about it and you're sure to mess up. So a lot of times, if the syllable is different, I'll do a phonetics, I'll write it
Hmm.
out so that I can do it better. But
Great
absolutely.
tip. Sandy
Yeah.
Adams, ladies and gentlemen.
And I listen to other people, not only doing podcasts, but also announcing and all kinds of things. And, I've, this is my third or fourth podcast that I've done show. So, I've kind of learned what I like and what I don't like and, just kind of go from there. But yeah, all great tips. Okay. So we were talking about this before we started the show because
Mhm.
you had looked at all the questions I sent you. And I said that, you're the voice of the Tigers. You're the voice of the city, really, the city's team. What does being the voice of the Tigers mean to you personally? Because it was kind of took you aback a little, I think.
It did because again, it's not that I consider this a job. I consider this
Yeah.
as a
Yeah.
hobby.
Right.
And so when you say it's a job, it's a 9 to 5. You're sitting down, you're doing
Right.
all that stuff. Um, Jobs are what really pays the bills and makes you come home to a family and so on and so forth. And so I'm very quick to correct people on saying what I do for a public address announcing is not a job, it's a hobby. And
Right.
so for me being a hobby, and a lot of people that do hobbies, it's not in the limelight. It's not there for you to be in the spotlight to do all that stuff. It was never something that was in my realm
Right.
of doing public address announcing. But when you brought that question, and when I read that question, I was like going, "Oh wow, yeah, I guess I
Yeah.
am sitting there announcing in front of all these Memphians and other people because of course this is their Memphis Tigers.
Sure.
This is the city's team. And yes, being the city's voice is that yeah, I'm the guy that you hear in the arena with all these speakers
Mhm.
and everything else. And so yeah, there's a lot to go with that. And so when you bring up a question to something like that and to somebody g- you soon realize going how many people that you impact. You basically impact the whole not just
Mhm.
the city but anybody that's traveling in and
Sure.
maybe come from Somerville and they love the Tigers, or they're coming from South Haven, they love the
Right.
Tigers. And so you encompass a lot of people and people's opinions and what they are coming there. They come
Sure.
there to
Yeah.
cheer. But
Mhm.
again, you're right. I'm more or less a city voice for this team, for the Tigers. And so it's you soon realize going, wow, I got a lot of ears and a lot of eyes on me when it comes down to it. So um yeah, it's great. I mean, I love it. I love what I do. I just never saw myself going, God, yeah, I'm the city's voice. How are you doing? No, I'm never that. I just love what I do.
You should start one of the games off by doing that. Here, I am the city's voice.
Hi, Jeff Mack, how you doing?
Okay.
Someday.
Okay. So, what is, or do you have one call or game moment that gave you chills?
There's been a lot. Um, there's too many, but
Sure. Sure.
the the one that really comes
Yeah, favorite one.
a favorite my favorite and it had nothing to do here in Memphis, but we'll circle back to that because there's been plenty of them
Right.
here. But I'll go to the Wyoming first. I'll come back to Memphis. Wyoming, we've never had a home championship in any of our sports, as long as I know, or
Oh,
at least in
wow.
my
Yeah.
lifetime. So back in 2007, our women's basketball team ended up in the WNIT. And of course, the NIT is that you either host or go
Sure.
to the other place. Well,
Right.
that whole year, we ended up hosting every single game all the way to the championship game. We almost stumbled in the semifinals where we hosted Kansas State, and it went into overtime, and it was Stena Pojemska. Gosh, Almost screwed up her name there. She hit a three late in regulation and sent in overtime. But we ended up hosting Wisconsin for the title game, and we ended up blowing them out. But we had a full 15,000 fans in the stands, and just the place was ruckus. It was just, and for women's sports too. I mean, it was, you had people that followed the men's basketball team all through how many
Mhm.
years that they've done, but they were traveling from as far as Jackson, Wyoming, and northern Wyoming, and in snow-covered grounds, and some of the roads were closed because of how much snow was on there. So it wasn't that it was just a memorable call that I had. It was because we had the whole state there,
Sure. Yeah.
and to announce that game was pretty cool. And also the arena auditorium there in Wyoming is a dome, kind of like the old Coliseum here in Memphis. And so back in the '80s, they called it the Dome of Doom, kind of like the Tome of Doom, that you guys always had here.
Yeah.
But they had a poster of old coach Benny Dees and Fennis Dembo, and it looked like Indiana Jones in the Temple of Doom. Well, they got rid of that slogan, and for whatever reason, it's just like all these things that I interject into the game. When I introduced, right before the introductions of the starting lineups, it said, "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Dome of Doom." You actually had everybody that title game saying it with me. Dome of Doom is really, really cool.
Oh my God.
And so when you have that interaction with people
Yes.
and they're helping you. It's like the three call
Yes.
that you guys now know and love. We took that from Kansas State. Joe Legursky, our women's basketball coach, they played Kansas State, and he came back after the game. He said, "Jeff, I don't know how you're going to do this, but we need to do it." I said, "Coach, what do you want?" He goes, "After every three, the announcer wouldn't say three, the crowd would do it." And he said, like, Jane Smith, four, and the crowd would do it. I was like, okay, I'll work on it. And I was trying to figure out how to do it, and I was like, nothing I was thinking was working. I said, okay, oh wait, I perfect. Get the cheerleaders involved, get the band involved, because they're the two that
Yes.
have to be
That's right.
there.
That's right.
Cheerleaders will cheer. Band have nothing to do during the game other than to play. And so I said, okay, this is very simple. Okay, Sandy Adams, she's going to hit a three. And so I always go, Sandy Adams, four. All you have to do is yell three. Before everybody started doing it. Everybody started three, and
They
everybody.
do. It still do.
That's how we did it back here. And when I was doing the women's games, it was you'll love this story. uh, my mom and my stepdad were visiting here at Memphis. I was doing a women's game. They were sitting in the nosebleeds there in the El Marone, and Alex Winchell, who used to hold the most threes for the women Tigers,
Mm-hmm.
and she like hit like eight or something like that in that game. She was hitting everywhere. And I was telling the administration, I said, we got to do something about doing threes, and they're
Right.
like, oh, okay, whatever, yeah, whatever, Wyoming boy. And so I look at I kept on looking at my mom up there. And so it would be Alex Winchell, 4-3. And I would see somebody up in the stands just going like this. I'm like, hold on one second. And I would look down to, the scores table, because that's where all the administration were. I said, watch
Mhm.
this. And so I simply, Alex hits another three. I said, Alex Winchell, four. And I point at my mom and my Jennifer's family and everything else. There go, three. And my 4'11" mom going, three. All that stuff. It was hilarious. But then they go, that's cool. And
Mhm.
so that's how that caught on. And so not only did the cheerleaders and band here at Memphis caught on to it, is that I give a lot of credit to my mom. Rest in peace, mom. But it was so cool to see her just, inspire that. Then I don't even I think is we got it done in the men's side, just because we had you know, women's fans going to the
Right.
men's games. The band knew, and some of the
Right.
cheerleaders knew, and so now it's come. become a staple, which I hope that people like it. I know that some people don't like it because they're they just like the old school. They just want the public addresser to just say the three and all that stuff.
That's no fun, though. That's no
It's
fun.
no fun, Sandy, and I want people to have fun. And so I think it's the interaction that I'm striving for people.
Sure.
If you're going to come cheer on your team, I want you to be a part of it. And so if you get to be a
Yes.
part of it, please come on in.
Right.
I'm gonna stop at 4. You scream 3 as long as you can. So.
No, I love that. A quick question though. Is
Mhm.
there a difference in how you announce for Elma Rome Fieldhouse versus FedEx Forum? Because obviously the acoustics and everything are different. It's a smaller venue, that kind of thing.
Sure, and I think that's
That's in my
reading
head.
rooms. Yeah, reading rooms is, yeah, you're absolutely right. Is that when you're doing it in a smaller venue, you might not be as loud. FedEx Forum, you might be a little bit louder because it's a bigger venue. But when
Oh,
it comes down to it, is that you want to be whatever level that you would normally be for any game. And
sure.
so you got to think about it. You're the six person there to drive your team to victory, in
Absolutely.
encompassing as a public address announcer, and you really shouldn't show any favoritism
No,
either
no.
way. That's the old adage. That's what my dad used to say. But guess what? No, you are the home team's announcer, and you can show that favoritism. And of course, you hear it in my voice every once in a
Sure.
while. But there's a gray line somewhere that you can't go over it, and all that stuff. And there's times where I make sure I don't go over it. But in certain venues, for what I was doing at the El Marone, I don't think I ever changed anything going into the FedEx Forum.
Right.
So, but again, if you only had one person as the in the stands, you might be a little bit quiet. But you have a full 18,000 in FedEx Forum. Of course, you want to be.
Hopefully.
Hopefully, yes. Yeah, it'll be interesting as we go along. But I know that we took a long way around. But I do want to get back to Memphis. We played Tennessee a couple of years ago.
Yes.
Unfortunately, we lost that by 10. I had the athletic trainer from Tennessee come down, and she comes down the scores table, and she's kind of going like this. I'm like, hey, can I help you? You're looking for somebody. She goes, I'm trying to find the public address announcer. And I said, oh, yeah, that's me. I said, what did I do? I said, what did I do? Because I'm
Right.
like, oh
Otherwise,
gosh,
why would they be looking for you?
why are you looking for me?
That's
I
right.
I, I have $100. I'll give you to you right now. What I do? And so she comes up and she goes, we've been to so many venues, and big venues, and other places where we played, but to be honest with you, you're probably the best public address announcer we've ever heard. I was like,
Oh my gosh.
really? And she goes, yeah, I just want to say thank you. You did so well. We lost by 10. Memphis lost. And for her to come down
Sure.
there and
And she's
just to
from
say that,
Tennessee. Like
she's
she's
from
from
Tennessee. Yeah.
mm-hmm.
Which I,
Mm-hmm.
I, I mean, I tell that story very, very few. And I mean, I like to tell that story now because the love-hate of
There is.
Tennessee,
There
uh,
is.
it's a huge part of it. But that side of things is that, there is there's professionalism when it comes
Sure.
down to everything else, and to be recognized by the opposing team, let alone the athletic trainer, because it was not just the athletic trainer, it was everybody on their uh,
Staff.
whatever their chair, yeah, their
Yeah.
staff and everything. They were impressed. And
And
I
they came and
again,
sought you out. Like that's another level right there to actually go and seek you out.
exactly. And so if there was a Memphis story to bring upon, it
I
was
like
that.
that. I like
Yeah,
that. I like that. Okay, rapid fire questions really quickly. Are you ready?
let's go.
This is a
Yes, I'm
new
ready.
new thing I've added to the show. Okay.
Let
Football or basketball, which is harder to announce?
football, because you're further away. You're further away,
Oh,
and
yes,
you
yes,
have
yes.
binoculars going, who's that? 35, and who's that guy? Oh, all right, first down or whatever. It's hard.
I actually never thought about that. You because Jeff Brightwell on the last
Mhm.
episode, he talked about being up so high. So you actually are up that high too, right?
Correct. Yeah,
I
we're
guess
all in the same press box. Yeah.
I guess I just didn't even think about it other than, oh, he's on the sideline. like you are at the
I would love
basketball
to be on
game.
the sideline, but again, yeah, you have a better vantage point up in this
Sure,
up in the press box or up in the suites.
sure.
But the hardest thing and the hardest thing for me, it might not be hard for other football announcers because they're used to it.
Yeah,
But yeah, you're binocular it up. You're
yeah.
trying to see what's going on, knowing the players, knowing all that stuff, and
Yeah.
saying everything for that whole game. And whole games could be like 4 hours worth, but you got to think about it. Football is once a week. It's
Right.
basically a celebration if you think about it. Every single week, every single Saturday, we all get together.
And have a
We're
party.
gonna have a party for 4 hours and go home. That's it. So but yeah, football is harder than basketball to me.
Okay. Favorite pregame hype song.
There are too many. Way too many. But the easiest one that I can say is Metallica's Enter Sandman. I think that there's something with that song. You turn that up, you can probably turn it up in church and you still have people start hitting their heads and all that stuff. And God, please don't do that in church. But yeah, there's so many songs that I've heard in the past, not just
Okay.
in radio, but in other venues and all that stuff. But I think other venues could use different songs than
Yeah.
just Enter Sandman.
Sure.
So you definitely hear it, but that's probably my go-to.
Okay. One word you always have to nail just right.
Hardaway. We talked about that. Gotta get that one down. If you don't get that down, your voice will crack.
I can just see you messing it up and Penny turning his head and giving you that look.
I don't want that look from Penny. I've seen that look that he's given to other players. I don't
I
want.
know, right? I know.
Penny, if you're
Okay.
watching, yes, I practice your name.
Well, I'm hoping to get him on the show soon, so we will have
We'll,
that.
we'll, we'll talk to some people for you.
Okay, okay, okay. Dream stadium or team that you would love to announce for.
This will go back to probably my junior year in high school. Um, the building's not there anymore. And being a hockey fan, and before the Colorado Avalanche actually got to
Yeah.
Denver, I was a Detroit Red Wing fan, which actually they're big, huge rivals now. But um, Joe Louis Arena was where the Detroit Red Wings used to play. And I never announced hockey, but I loved hockey. And
Hmm.
so if there was a place, a venue that I always wanted to announce when I first started was that. Believe it or not, FedEx Forum was a place, and guess what? Guess where I announced now. So tried out for the Grizzlies, and I ended up getting second back in 2017 when they did the open auditions, and they ended up giving it to Marcus, and he does a great job, by the way. But they ended up wanted me to do the hustle, and I was like, oh
Hmm.
gosh, that's still a great
Sure,
opportunity.
sure.
But my loyalties to the Memphis Tigers, since they gave me my
Yeah,
start, I said I
right.
got to stick with them. Thank
Yeah,
you so much for the opportunity, and yeah, FedEx
yeah.
Forum is my home now. I love it.
Sure. Okay, one fun fact Tiger fans might not know about you.
There have been a lot of things I thought about, but I think the fun part, and it's a fun part where wherever I go. My birthday is July 7th, 1977. So when you put it together, it's seven, seven,
Oh my
seven,
gosh.
seven. And I was 11 minutes off of 7 o'clock. So when my mom was alive, I said, "Mom, why couldn't you hold on for another 11 minutes?" And she's from Thailand, so she had the accent and everything. She goes, "Oh, Jeffy, I can't hold on no more longer. You're too big. I had to push you out." And so, yeah,
Okay, now that you've described her, I can see her even more clearly at the women's game that time, holding up or yelling out the three.
you're welcome. That's
O-
that's my mom.
okay, so how can people find you or follow you online?
Gotcha. Probably the two best ones are on X
Mhm.
under Geoff Mack 7777. Was
Now
that
I
sevens now?
understand why you have all those sevens. I gotcha.
Mhm.
Okay.
I got it. And also Instagram, that one's under Mac 777717. And the 17 basically is when I first got my email. So it's weird how all those sevens work.
That is. And for those that are listening or watching, I'll put it in the show notes and also on the, you can see it right here on the screen as you're watching. Okay. And finally, last question. If you could go back and talk to your 9-year-old self, what would you say to him?
Buy Bitcoin. Let's be realistic, shall we? Buy Bitcoin. Buy all the lowest stocks you can ever find, right? Is that
Okay.
what we want to tell our 9-year-old selves?
Okay,
Yeah.
that is the funniest answer. And you're actually episode number 70. That's the funniest answer I have had. That is awesome. So much so that I've lost my notes now.
Sorry to throw you off, but if there's an honest answer.
There you have it. That's a wrap for today's show. Jeff, thank you so much for being on today.
Well, thank you so much for having me. And like I said, it's a privilege and an honor just to be considered for this. So thank you so much, Sandy.
You're welcome. Thank you all for listening, especially if you've made it all the way to this part of the show. I appreciate all of your support. Another reminder to subscribe to the show wherever you listen or watch. My mantra is like, share, and review. Follow us on social media at 5THQRT Podcast. Until next time, remember, change is our ally and it paves the way for greatness. Stay inspired. Have a great rest of the week.